Focus on yourself, not others. Hello and welcome to Zen Buddhism Wisdom. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects all of us: comparison. Have you ever scrolled through social media and felt like everyone else is ahead? A friend gets a promotion, someone buys a new house, another is traveling the world, and suddenly, your own life feels inadequate. But what if I told you that this feeling is not just painful, it's an illusion? The Buddha taught that the habit of comparison is one of the biggest sources of human suffering. Why? Because it distracts us from what truly matters: our own path, our own growth, and our own inner peace. In this video, we'll uncover why comparison is a trap, how Buddhist philosophy helps us break free, and the practical steps you can take to live with more contentment. And stay with me, because by the end, I'll share a powerful Buddhist story that might forever change the way you see success, failure, and your own journey. Are you ready to begin? Let's dive in. The Buddha's teachings remind us that the root of suffering lies in attachment. When we tie our happiness to the actions, opinions, or successes of others, we unknowingly place ourselves in a cycle of endless dissatisfaction. Imagine chasing a mirage in the desert. Each time you think you've reached it, it disappears, and you're left thirstier than before. This is exactly how the mind behaves when it obsesses over comparisons. There's a well-known story from the life of the Buddha that illustrates this. Before his enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama was a prince, living in a palace filled with luxuries beyond imagination. Yet, despite having everything, he was deeply unsettled. He looked at the lives of others, his father, his court, his people, and measured his happiness against theirs. Was he as content as they appeared to be? Did he have what they had? This comparison eventually led him to abandon the palace in search of true wisdom. What he discovered was life-changing. Happiness does not come from possessing what others have, but from mastering one's own mind. This lesson is timeless. The moment we look outward for validation, we surrender control over our peace. Our emotions become dictated by forces beyond us, by social expectations, by fleeting opinions, by an endless hunger for more. But when we focus inward, on self-awareness, mindfulness, and gratitude, we break free from this cycle. Impermanence, anicca, is not just a Buddhist teaching, it is the fundamental reality of existence. Everything that arises will eventually fade: joy and sorrow, success and failure, youth and old age. Yet, we suffer because we resist this truth. We cling to achievements as if they will last forever. We fear failures as if they will define us eternally. And perhaps most destructively, we compare ourselves to others, as if their success diminishes our worth. But has there ever been a triumph in history that lasted unchanged? Kings rise and fall. Empires flourish and crumble. The wealthiest figures of one generation become forgotten names in the next. Even the stars that light up the night sky will one day burn out. So why do we insist on measuring ourselves against something so fragile, so fleeting? King Pasenadi of Kosala was a ruler of immense power. He commanded vast armies, possessed unimaginable riches, and was respected by his people. Yet, none of this brought him peace. He lived in constant anxiety, fearful that another king would surpass him, that his people would forget him, that history would not remember him as he wished. Tormented by these thoughts, he sought the Buddha's wisdom. He confessed his fears, asking, "What if I am not remembered as a great ruler? What if my victories are overshadowed by another king?" What if my power slips away? The Buddha, with infinite compassion, looked at him and said, "O king, everything that arises also passes away. The rivers flow, the leaves fall, the seasons change, nothing in this world is permanent. Why then do you grieve over what cannot be held?" At first, Pasenadi struggled with this truth. He had spent his life chasing greatness, believing that his worth depended on how he compared to other rulers. But as he reflected on the Buddha's words, something shifted within him. He realized that no matter how hard he fought to secure his legacy, time would eventually wash it away. The victories he celebrated today would become mere footnotes in history. The subjects who praised him would one day move on to a new king. This realization freed him from the chains of comparison. He saw that true fulfillment did not come from being better than others but from living with wisdom and inner peace. We, too, fall into the same trap. When we compare ourselves to others, we are chasing waves, rushing toward success, fearing failure, measuring our worth against external markers. But waves do not last. They rise, crest, and disappear into the vast ocean, just like every success, every failure, every moment of admiration or judgment. The friend who once outshined you in school, where is he now? The celebrity who was once on every magazine cover, do they still hold the same spotlight? The colleague who got a promotion before you, will they always be ahead? The things we envy today may not even exist tomorrow. So why waste our energy worrying about them? Why anchor our happiness to something that is always shifting? In Tibetan Buddhism, monks spend days, sometimes weeks, creating intricate sand mandalas. Beautiful geometric patterns made from colored grains of sand. These artworks are breathtaking, a true testament to patience, discipline, and skill. But once they are completed, the monks destroy them. They sweep away the sand, erasing their masterpiece in an instant. This is not an act of cruelty or wastefulness, it is a profound lesson in impermanence. No matter how beautiful, how perfect something seems, it cannot last. And the sooner we accept this, the freer we become. Our achievements, like those mandalas, are temporary. Someone else's success is temporary. Their wealth, their beauty, their fame, everything will fade. If we can embrace this truth, we will stop suffering over comparisons. Instead of chasing after what others have, we should turn inward. Measure your life not by what is fleeting, but by what brings true fulfillment. Stop asking, am I better than them? And start asking, am I growing? Stop fearing impermanence and start embracing it, because it also means your struggles, your pain, your failures are temporary. Stop running after waves and dive into the ocean, because beneath the surface, there is stillness, depth, and real peace. Buddhism does not tell us to stop striving, to stop improving, or to stop working hard. It simply teaches us to do these things without attachment, without comparison, without suffering. Because the truth is, when you stop competing with others, you begin to discover who you truly are. One of the most powerful tools for overcoming the habit of comparison is vipassana meditation, also known as insight meditation. This practice trains the mind to observe thoughts without attachment, allowing us to recognize destructive mental patterns, such as envy, insecurity, or self-doubt, without being controlled by them. Imagine sitting in meditation. Your eyes are closed, your breath is steady, and for a moment, there is peace. Then, suddenly, a thought arises, why am I not as successful as my friend? Instinctively, your mind wants to chase this thought, analyzing it, feeding it, building a story around it. But Vipassana teaches a different approach. Instead of indulging in this thought, you simply observe it. You recognize it as just another mental formation, a temporary cloud passing through the sky of your mind. You do not suppress it, but you do not cling to it either. You acknowledge it, and then, just like a drifting cloud, it dissolves on its own. Over time, this simple practice rewires the brain. It weakens the grip of comparison. It trains you to see that thoughts are not absolute truths, they are just mental events, appearing and disappearing. And when you stop identifying with them, they lose their power over you. The Buddha once illustrated this principle through a simple yet profound exercise. He took a bowl of still water and said, "When the water is calm, you can see your reflection clearly. But when it is disturbed, everything becomes distorted." This is the nature of our mind. When we are constantly consumed by external distractions, what others have, what they achieve, how we compare, our thoughts become turbulent. We cannot see ourselves clearly. Our self-perception becomes distorted by illusions of superiority or inferiority, but through meditation, we still the waters. The mind settles. Clarity emerges. And in that clarity, we see ourselves as we truly are, not as we are in comparison to someone else. Monks who dedicate their lives to deep meditation often describe a profound shift in perspective. They stop seeing life as a competition and start seeing it as a personal journey, one where the only meaningful progress is self-mastery. Instead of asking, "Am I ahead or behind?" they ask, "Am I wiser today than I was yesterday?" Instead of measuring success by external standards, they measure it by their inner state of peace. This is the true gift of meditation. It liberates us from the exhausting game of comparison. It shows us that the only person we ever need to surpass is our past self. And when we truly understand this, we no longer look at others with envy, we look at them with compassion. Because just like us, they are also searching for happiness, for meaning, for inner peace. And that search, in the end, is not a competition, but a shared human experience. The Buddha often taught in parables, using vivid stories to convey deep philosophical truths. One of his most famous parables, the poisoned arrow, perfectly illustrates why focusing on others is not only a waste of energy but a source of unnecessary suffering. A man was once struck by a poisoned arrow. Instead of immediately seeking medical help, he became obsessed with irrelevant questions. Who shot this arrow? What type of wood is it made from? Where was it crafted? What kind of poison was used? He insisted that he would not remove the arrow until he had answers. But while he was consumed with these distractions, the poison spread through his body. By the time he got the information he was so desperate to know, it was too late. The arrow had done its damage. The Buddha explained that this is exactly what we do when we obsess over the lives of others. Instead of removing the poisoned arrow of comparison from our minds, we get caught up in meaningless distractions. We waste time analyzing other people's successes, questioning why they have what we don't, and looking for explanations that serve no real purpose. Meanwhile, the real issue remains: we are suffering. Not because of what others have, but because we refuse to focus on our own healing. Instead of directing our energy inward, to growth, wisdom, and self-mastery, we let it drain away, fixated on things that do not concern us. In today's world, the poisoned arrow takes a new form: social media. We scroll endlessly, watching curated highlights of other people's lives. We compare our reality to their illusions. We wonder, why does their life seem better? Why do they have what I don't? But none of these questions serve us. They only deepen our suffering, just like the poisoned arrow. Every moment spent analyzing someone else's life is a moment stolen from our own. The lesson of the parable is clear: stop asking unnecessary questions and remove the arrow. In other words, stop comparing and start living. Instead of wondering why someone else is ahead, focus on your own journey. Instead of obsessing over external success, cultivate inner peace. Instead of letting the poison of envy spread, choose self-acceptance and gratitude. The arrow of comparison is sharp, and its poison is subtle, but once we recognize it, we hold the power to pull it out. And in doing so, we free ourselves from suffering and return to the only thing that truly matters: our own path, our own growth, and our own peace. Detach from external approval. The Buddha taught that happiness comes from within, not from the opinions of others. Ask yourself, if I had no one to impress, what would truly bring me peace? The answer lies in self-acceptance. Practice daily meditation. Even 5 minutes of daily meditation can train the mind to release comparison. The more you sit with your thoughts, the more you realize how fleeting they are. See life as a journey, not a competition. There is no single finish line in life. Imagine if a tree compared itself to a river or a bird compared itself to a mountain. Each has its own path. Likewise, your journey is yours alone. Cultivate gratitude. The fastest way to stop comparing is to appreciate what you already have. Each day, write down 3 things you are grateful for. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what is abundant in your life. Limit social media consumption. Social media is a distorted reality. What you see is not the full picture. Reducing your exposure to these highlight reels helps you stay grounded in your own life. By following these steps, we gradually shift our focus from the illusion of external success to the truth of inner peace. Buddhism does not ask us to abandon ambition or growth. It simply asks us to pursue these things from a place of clarity rather than comparison. When we understand that our worth is not measured against others but by our own mindfulness, contentment, and wisdom, we unlock a freedom that no external validation can provide. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." Throughout this journey, we've explored how comparison is a trap, one that keeps us stuck in unnecessary suffering. The truth is, no one else's success or failure has any power over your happiness. The moment you stop looking outward and start focusing inward, you begin to reclaim your peace. Buddhism teaches us that everything is impermanent, including success, failure, praise, and criticism. When we stop attaching our worth to these fleeting things, we free ourselves from the cycle of comparison. Instead of chasing an illusion, we learn to find contentment in the present moment, gratitude in what we already have, and fulfillment in our own unique journey. Now, I have a challenge for you. Take just 5 minutes today to reflect. Write down one way you can stop comparing yourself to others and focus more on your own growth. This simple act could be the first step toward a more peaceful, mindful life. That's the end of today's video. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Buddhist wisdom. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.